The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Eric's black.
Thank you very much, Captain Obvious.
Now, care to tell us about the latest deals on Hotels.com? Because my app ain't working right.
Haven't even started the goddamn show and it's already off the rails. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dr. Harry. All right, I'm going to get sued for copyright infringement, so let's go ahead and move on. Good evening, afternoon, whenever you listen to us, if you listen to us. And if you do, we thank you and kind of question your sanity for doing so, regardless.
Oh, if they listen to us, they're just as insane as we are.
That's probably a fair point, actually, Bisco.
I don't know what y'all are talking about. I'm perfectly sane.
Can I get the show open?
Nope.
Hey, big wheels keep on turning. Proud Mary keep on burning. Rolling
down the river.
Rolling through the intro.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the Kickoff Season 3, Episode 10 here on the W2M Network. I am your host, even though I sometimes don't want to claim that. My name is Harry Broadhurst. Joining me, as per usual, the executive producer turned co-host, Erik Watkins.
Hey, I don't know, Harry. I mean, I've been walking around town the last couple of days, and everything is decked out in red and black for some reason. Can you kind of explain that? Help me out, because I'm confused.
How'd that opening week of the season go for y'all?
Okay, let's go.
You're gonna break Harry before we even get started.
And technically speaking, aren't you schmucks still 2 games behind us anyway? 7-2, 5-4.
Yeah, we beat our rival and got their coach fired, so...
That's fair, actually. It's something that I did kind of want to talk about once we do our...
I'm going to be some goddamn co-host if we don't get this fucking thing on the road.
We're going. Calm down. That very irrational voice you're hearing is a probably sleep-deprived chairman of the W2M Network, Jason Teasley.
I'm here so I don't get fined or I don't get beat by my wife.
And finally, the co-host turned producer I'm not doing the whole spiel. Fuck that. It's Brandon Biskobing.
You said good evening. I think it's more of good midnight, good morning.
But we would have started earlier if it wasn't for somebody.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's Kickoff After Dark. Stay tuned, everybody.
You know what Tony Dungy says?
That a woman with 2 black eyes
Nope, not doing this. Nope. We open the show how we always do. This is Studs and Duds. Erik?
Now, my stud, very, very unheralded up until this week. His name happens to be Derek Meyer. I'm sure none of you, probably Bisco, because, well, he's Bisco, have heard of him. Well, he's an Ivy League quarterback out of Dartmouth, if I remember correctly.
The Hail Mary?
Yes.
Dartmouth.
Yes. Now, you mentioned that Hail Mary. Down 6-3 against Harvard, needing a touchdown, the last play of the game. Derek Meyer goes out, pocket collapses, he scrambles, he avoids a sack, takes it, I don't know how he's able to get away, but he heaves it 42 yards, and 2 Harvard defenders in the end zone, instead of batting the ball down, they tip it, bam, game-winning touchdown, a 9-6 win, Dartmouth stays perfect, and sets up a battle of the Titans against Princeton at Yankee Stadium this coming Saturday. Derek, sir, kudos, you are my stud.
You know the most confusing part of that story to me, Erik?
What's that?
A college football game 6-3 in the fourth quarter.
Speaking of Princeton, I'm very surprised considering this is the 150th anniversary and everything. I'm surprised that they didn't, like, I know that there is no such thing as, consistency, and in spite of what the NCAA wants us to believe, there really is no governing body behind college football. But you would have thought that both Princeton and Rutgers would have made at least some sort of effort to make a game this season between the two of them.
Damn it, Bisco, do you want Rutgers to get even more embarrassed? Haven't they been through enough?
No, they haven't.
Well, let's ask Liberty about that question and see the answer. Let's move on. Jason, stud.
My stud is a former Stanford running back who is now in the NFL, creating havoc for defensive, and he's the next great white hype. And that's Christian McCaffrey, who went crazy against the Tennessee Titans for 146 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns and 3 of 3 receptions for 20 yards and an additional touchdown. I mean, this is going to be foreshadowing, but we're going to talk a little bit more about Run CMC later on the show.
This one's Jason's. Dun, dun, dun.
Dramatic reverb.
Brandon, stud.
My stud for this week is one Russell Wilson, who basically saved the Seahawks from an embarrassment by throwing 378 yards and 5 touchdowns to save his inept defense against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week.
And to save Brandon's inept picking and I'm a Survivor as well.
Yes, precisely.
Speaking of Russell Wilson, I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about him a little bit more later on in this show as well.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned. Dun, dun, dun.
Dramatic reverb.
All right. So, Bisco and Jason went NFL with their studs. Erik went college, so I'm going to join Erik and even this out at 2 each. My stud for the week is a team on the Pacific Northwest. We talk about Pac-12 After Dark. Well, this was a Pac-12 After Dark bitch slapping is what this was. Everybody had been saying that the Pac-12's strongest teams going into this year were all in the Southern Division of the Pac-12. You had Sparky, Arizona State with Herm Edwards. You had USC. You have Utah, who admittedly is on a roll right now despite their loss to USC earlier in the season. However, there is a specific team up north that took issue with that whole all the powers in the South designation, and that team is the Oregon Ducks. The Oregon Ducks played the aforementioned USC Trojans this past week and put a hurting on them, 56-24. We kind of briefly talked about this in the group chat. I know we're not going to fully get into the college football playoff ratings this week, but I have to ask you guys real quick. Assuming Oregon and Utah win out, they would both be 11-1 going into the Pac-12 championship game. Is there any way a 12-1 Pac-12 champion does not get into the playoff?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that that's a very safe bet.
Yeah, a lot would have to happen for them to get in. Hashtag save the Pac-12.
We'll talk more about this next week, including potential Pac-12 fallout. Erik has a story to share next week once we get back to our regular format. For now, we continue this week's show by going to the flip side of the studs, the people who underperformed. It's Duds time. Erik?
There is a man who's been the winningest head coach in college football history, John Gilardi, mainly known for coaching the St. John's, Minnesota Johnnies in Division III. While he is retired and has a trophy named after him, yes, I know Union's better, but still, respect. The Johnnies, they didn't play all 3 aspects of their game against Concordia Saturday. Their special teams was highly underwhelming. They had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 extra points missed or blocked. So when Concordia came in, their quarterback only completing 3 passes the entire game, the third pass being the game-winning touchdown in overtime, and kicking their extra point to win 19-18, and you gotta wonder to yourself, what happened only if ... St. John's special teams, bro, y'all gotta do better than that. Y'all are my duds. 4 extra points. 4.
Erik is pulling them deep cuts this week. FCS, D3.
Mm-hmm.
Next week he's going to throw up a Division 2 just to fuck with us.
I mean, hey, if I could go to Brian Kelly's old school at Grand Valley State, I'll pay attention to what the Lakers are doing.
What the fuck you talking about? Eric's going to be talking about the next highly touted midget league football running back that's going to be class of 2028.
See,
I can't do that because I haven't watched Friday Night Tykes in a while, but if you give me some time...
Jesus. I was going to make an LFL joke, but frankly, the moment's gone. Jason Dud.
Brandon took, Russell Wilson as his stud. Well, I'm going to go on the flip side and go in the same game, same team, Seahawks, and go with my dud. Jason Myers could have put this game away for the Seattle Seahawks on multiple occasions. But the most notable point was when he had a 40-yard field goal that Wilson led him down the field with like 3 seconds left on the clock, 40-yard field goal at home, kicking in the favorable with the wind at his back, and he shanks it to send the game into overtime. That being said, he was 2 of 4 in this game, and the kid was coming off of a nice Pro Bowl season last year where he went 33 of 36 when he was with the Jets, getting a nice contract with the Seahawks, and he's had a surprisingly disappointing season.
Well,
he was with the Jets.
I was going to say, there's your problem. There was no pressure when he was the kicker.
And that is a perfect segue. First off, so Russell Wilson not only saved his inept defense, but also saved his inept special teams as well. Bravo.
And he damn near got me in the money in FanDuel, but no, the Cowboys had to ruin it on Monday night.
Speaking of fantasy football, Erik.
Yes.
Hi. How you doing? Scoreboard, bitch. Brandon, continue.
As for my dud, speaking of the Jets,
segue.
Did someone say during our preview that the Jets were actually going to be decent this year?
No.
I thought they
no.
were.
Okay. I thought someone did, but I may be wrong.
No, I don't know who you're talking
They're
about.
just not.
Well, I know if Brandon thought somebody did that, it's Bisco's going to Bisco, and he was going to try to take credit for it.
No. But the Jets, not only are they, pretty bad this year, they proceed to give the team that I think a lot of us thought were going to, lay a big old goose egg this season. They give the Dolphins their first win of the season. How you liking that decision now, Le'Veon Bell, being on a team that's this bad?
He probably still likes it because the Steelers are making calls for him, so...
They want me back in Pittsburgh, bro. I'm leaving this place in the offseason. Somewhere James Conner's agent is like, don't get hurt again. Don't get hurt again. Don't get hurt again.
Go into remission.
Jesus.
Oh, God.
The views and opinions of Jason. Yeah, that spiel for it. Forget it. All right. So, Braden did kind of call this earlier in the week, and I had forgotten about it. But I got a special place in my heart for my own dud of the week as well. And it happens to come as a story from the state of Ohio. Erik, have you heard this story about Jermaine Whitehead?
I may have.
Cleveland Browns defensive player.
Yes, I definitely did.
Oh, is this the DB?
Yes,
Yes.
it is. The one that went on Twitter and decided that after playing a really bad game against Denver, that it was a good idea to verbally attack a fan using a racist slur towards them, calling them a cracker. I mean, I'm not white. I'm saltine white, but even I think that's racist. And then threatening to kill a reporter as well. The Cleveland Browns did what any decent organization would have done in the situation, and much the same way of the Eagles linebacker who got fired the day after his performance, Jermaine Whitehead now finds himself without a job after the Browns have cut him. Jermaine Whitehead, how are you going to get fired on your day off?
Now, see, here's the thing. You should ask yourself, why are you still in full uniform after the game on Twitter at all, let alone sending tweets like that? The Browns PR people literally put him away from media reporters so that way he couldn't do any more damage. And all of that still couldn't take the shine off of the Baker Mayfield memes, which, internet, I salute you. You have done me proud.
I'm gonna quote that '70s show here. You ready, Erik?
Yes.
Whitehead, I may be a cracker, but you're a dumbass. Dumbass.
Oh, Red.
And that wraps up our studs and duds for the week. All right, normally this would be the part where, so that happened, but we are on an abbreviated schedule for the week because we have our NFL and college midseason awards to hand out, as well as we're going to update our predictions a little bit later on. Therefore, let's move on and go to I'm a Survivor here. Jason, you were the first one to get me your pick for this week, so you get to go first in the predictions for I'm a Survivor.
I'm a survivor. I am going to take the Green Bay Packers.
Over.
Fuck, I don't know who they're playing. I fucking just put the Packers down. Do you think I actually fucking did research? I just seen the first fucking the first point spread that met the criteria that you set forth, and I fucking jump on it.
They're playing the Panthers.
You think I?
Technically, you don't even need a point spread for this one.
I was about to say,
Yeah, I mean-
I'm a Survivor doesn't have a point spread. It's just whoever you.
Well, I do this shit because you fuck with me, and I go sleep deprived, and every time I mention a team, I don't know the criteria. I feel like an abused housewife, okay, Harry?
They are playing the Panthers this week.
I'm going
Thank
to
you,
go with.
Biscuit.
I'm going to go with the obvious selection here, and a team that I haven't taken yet this year. Therefore, I am going to take the Baltimore Ravens over the Cincinnati Bengals.
What is the streaks currently?
Oh, it's how nice of you to ask. Jason, your streak is at 1. Sorry.
How did I lose last week?
No, you
got
won last week.
Correct. You got last week correct, but you lost the week before. Remember Buffalo, Philadelphia? That whole debacle?
I did. Fuck you, Harry, for making me lose that.
I said sorry. Brandon has the lead now. Brandon is at 5.
Huzzah.
I'm at 4. Jason has 1. Erik's season record-breaking 7-game winning streak came to an end as, well, Houston kicked Jacksonville's ass on Sunday morning.
You know what, Gardner? I loved you. I was even up at 9:30 in the morning. You know how hard it is for me on a Sunday, no less, to go and see you in London. I'm all hip in the sta-
And they did so bad they're gonna bench him now.
Yeah, well, if you saw the last 5 minutes of that game, that alone was bench worthy. I'm not gonna lie. Big Dick Nick, welcome back with open arms.
Still think he's the rookie of the year, Erik?
No.
All right. So I got Baltimore. Jason has Green Bay. Brandon, you have the current longest streak, so therefore you're up here.
And I am taking the New Orleans Saints over the Atlanta Falcons.
Shit.
Neither of you posted your predictions in the group chat, so I had to pick one of you to go first.
No, it's not that. It's just the fact that he picked an easy one, and I have to root against New Orleans so that way he doesn't come closer to tying my record.
Erik, let's see if you can get off the schneid.
Okay, well, what do I always say about a certain quarterback for a certain team in the NFC North?
That he's black.
Are there?
Okay, that doesn't apply to any of them.
I was
so-
going to say, I don't
Yeah.
think there's a single black quarterback in the North. Matthew
No, there-
I mean, there used to be, but not anymore.
Dante Culpepper's been retired for
No,
like half a decade.
no.
Greg
Crap.
Huntley.
No, he was
Yes,
on the
Greg
Vikings.
Huntley was in Green Bay.
No,
Yeah,
oh,
but he was in Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers got hurt.
but he's in Bridgewater.
Minnesota, kind of, but he hasn't been in Minnesota in like 3 years. All right,
Yeah,
anyway,
but still closer.
make a pick.
Yeah, I always say they do well in a 1 o'clock game, and they are god-awful otherwise. So when you have a career record of 40, 40, and 2, I'm naturally picking against you on primetime television.
No, don't pick them. No.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
boo.
yes.
Fine, pick them.
How about them Dallas Cowboys? I'm
Oh.
sorry. I like Dak better than Kirk in a nighttime game. Sorry.
All right, so while Jason and I are giving our Are You Serious picks, y'all need to send me yours so that way I can make sure that you two aren't going to try to go head-to-head on the same team for those. So both of you need to look those up by me and Jason give hard.
I
All right.
already got mine.
I've got mine as well.
Well, then send them to me, and I'll tell you if they're legal for college and the NFL.
I sent mine to you.
You did. That is right. I remember me being upset over your college pick.
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Your exact words. Why do you hate me, Erik? You don't remember.
Yeah,
It's because you're black.
it's a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Brandon, you need to send me your pick so I can tell you if people are
Just did.
And actually, believe it or not, Bisco not going to Bisco. All the picks are different.
And I'm going directly against Erik on one of them.
Okay, then. I see how this goes.
All right, let's get over to Are You Serious here. I'd have Are You Serious updates for last week, but I haven't had a chance to score last week's games yet. As soon as I do, I will post it in the group chat. We'll give the updated weekly standings next week here on the show because we do that on odd number of weeks overall. Anyways, therefore, we're moving to the Are You Serious predictions for the week. And real quick before we do so, a couple of quick updates about last week's games in Are You Serious. We had two straight up wins last week. Myself and Bisco both picked up another one. Bisco, I gave you shit about that pick for Georgia Southern. I was wrong. Good call. And you guys laughed at me when I picked Virginia Tech over Notre Dame. They didn't win outright, but they only lost by a point.
Yeah, I looked at that and I was completely surprised. But then again, it's the ACC, so of course there's craziness.
And
Hold on. I made a side prediction last week, and I was laughed at on Halloween night, and you guys thought it was funny, and somehow I was right in my bonus pick.
I'm afraid I don't remember said bonus pick, and I apologize, but I genuinely don't remember.
I said the smart money would be on West Virginia and Baylor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one was scary close.
Both of those Thursday night games, though, if you think about it, because Georgia Southern App State was that Thursday night as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought they played Friday night.
Nope.
Okay.
No, the Friday night game was Navy beating UConn's ass. But only one of us got our NFL pick correct as far as straight up goes. And I said Miami would get off the schneid because J-E-D. Yeah, no. And sure enough,
Jets are gonna Jets.
100%. All right, Jason, you got an interesting one for college. So go ahead and lead us off here on the college Are You Serious?
I do have an interesting one. Are you serious? I'm actually taking a ranked team that's getting points over in the Big 12 when K-State is going into Texas as a 7-point underdog. Usually a home team gets a 3-point, but this K-State team could actually hang with Texas. Texas has shown its vulnerability. K-State has a huge win over Oklahoma. And I think this K-State team is going to surprise them. And actually, I would not be surprised if they won outright versus Texas at Texas.
You know, I made a bold prediction when we did our college football preview. And I said, beware of K-State this year in the Big 12 and look out for Chris Kleeman coming from North Dakota State. Kansas State is 6-2 and ranked 16th in the very first college football playoff top 25 ratings. This is a K-State team that could be a threat for years to come, especially with a mind like Kleeman's on the sidelines for them. They better hope Kleeman doesn't take the money to go somewhere else.
Personally, I think that they're going to break the bank because they know if this keeps going, K-State could easily win the Big 12 within the next maybe 3 years.
All right, Bisco, you're up next.
My Are You Serious for college this week is Cal over Washington State. It's only a 7.5 point spread. And I think Cal can at least keep it close, if not win outright.
Poor Mike Leach.
I think we've seen the best we're going to see from Cal this year. The last performance that I saw from them was just getting it absolutely handed to them by Oregon State. And when you're getting it handed to you by Oregon State, it's a problem. Eric, I ask you again, much the same way I did in the group chat, why do you hate me?
Well, let me explain. All right? I know one of your teams is Penn State, but hear me out. They're not the only undefeated team in the Big Ten. You've got Ohio State, but you've also got Minnesota. Given PJ Fleck's mentality, given that everybody's already mentioning this is Minnesota's first big legitimate test this season, given where they are in the rankings and knowing they can pretty much cruise to the Big Ten West now, I think they're going to put on a surprisingly good performance. It will lead to a letdown next week, but I think they're going to show up and show out. PJ Fleck's going to have those Gophers rolling the boat. They're eventually going to run aground because I think the Nittany Lions will win. But Minnesota keeping it within 7, I think it's possible.
I'm going to actually agree with you. I think that this game's going to be a lot closer than maybe some experts are thinking. The question to me is going to be just how good is this Minnesota team? Because they were talking about this on the college football playoff because I actually watched the top 25 reveal because it was right after the Kansas and Duke game that I watched last night. And don't get me started on how poorly Kansas played last night.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what was going on with Bill Self? It's like they had bigger things to worry about. I couldn't imagine what they might be.
And I'd troll you on that.
Eric, you're a University of Miami fan. You can definitely imagine what those would be.
Not since the 80s.
Unfortunately, I have no right to talk.
Did Seton Hall lose?
No, they won, but Kevin Willard got suspended for the first 2 games for apparently some shenanigans.
Shenanigans, you say? Well,
not your kind of shenanigans.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Recruitment shenanigans.
All right. I'm actually in the Big Ten as well, Eric.
Oh?
I'm going to Camp Randall.
Ooh.
Where Wisconsin is a 9.5-point favorite against Iowa.
Oh.
Wisconsin should not be a 9.5-point favorite against anybody at this point in the season, let alone Iowa.
I concur, good sir.
If this game were in Kenneck, the line would be in the opposite direction. Iowa is that much of a better team. They're saying Camp Randall's a difficult place to play, and it is. I'm not going to deny that. But these Hawkeyes don't care. In order to have any chance at all of staying in the Big Ten West picture, Iowa goes to Camp Randall and beats the Badgers, covering the 9.5 in the process.
I like the way you think.
We move over to the National Football League now. Jason?
Actually, I'm going to have a surprising pick. A lot of people are going to disagree. But due to injuries, I think this team will be exposed. And maybe there's some Fitz magic in the air. And I am taking the Dolphins, yes, the Miami Dolphins, getting 10.5, getting 10.5 when they go into Indianapolis and face the Colts, who will be without T.Y. Hilton and the starting quarterback.
Is Jacoby Brissett out for this game? I haven't heard anything officially.
He is due to be out this game due to the MCL sprain.
I mean,
he is highly doubtful, is what the last report I said.
I saw the injury against Pittsburgh, and to be frankly honest with you, he's lucky it wasn't worse because he had a defender hit him in the ankle right as one of his offensive linemen hit him in the kneecap.
Yeah, it was a scary hit, but I mean, he was lucky. I think they're really downplaying it on the injury report and everything, and saying it's just a mild sprain, and he's day to day. But then I've seen a couple of other reports come out, especially, mine and Eric's inside source that we love to talk about for the brand. He even has hinted that the Colts are downplaying the injury and it's a more severe MCL sprain than what initially was thought.
Yeah, because, they're saying, he was limited in practice, which that's one thing. Right, we talk about practice, not a game, practice. But, yeah, if it's that bad and it looked as ugly as it did, I don't see having him out there and them turning to Brian Hoyer, so that wouldn't surprise me.
Especially if they feel like it's against the Dolphins, so they don't.
Yeah, I would argue that, frankly, Brian Hoyer's a good enough quarterback to beat the Dolphins. 10.5 might be a little steep for Brian Hoyer, though, because this will be the first start he's had since, Cleveland?
He went 2-2 that year in Cleveland before he got hurt. Just saying.
And I'm just going to say, I think that Hoyer's more of a game management quarterback than a lead team quarterback.
Okay, but to that effect, though, we have seen game manager quarterback do really well this year. Hello, Bridgewater, Teddy.
Well, I don't see Teddy as a game managing quarterback. I think Teddy Bridgewater is, I think in Minnesota that he was highly stifled and he wasn't able to play his style. He was playing in a system that didn't work for him. I think Teddy Bridgewater could be a starter for a couple of teams right now. Hello, Washington.
Hello, Chicago.
That's fair, actually.
I mean, I think they brought Teddy Bridgewater in not as a viable backup, as a heir apparent.
Okay, I could see that. Speaking of Minnesota, segue.
Yeah. So Eric, you searched in on that Cowboys I'm a Survivor pick?
I'm sorry, what time is that Dallas-Minnesota kickoff?
I know it's a primetime game. I understand this. This. But still, this is the Cowboys we're talking about. And yes, it's not quite the Tony Romo Cowboys, but even without Tony Romo, Chokears Romo. Once it hits November, Cowboys start to, feel those jitters of the playoffs approaching.
Last time I checked, didn't Dak Prescott win a playoff game?
Yes, he won one playoff game.
Right. And I'm sorry, but you're really taking the original Kirk Cousins against a better version of Kirk Cousins who can actually do something in the fourth quarter. Now, keep in mind, you're picking the same Kirk Cousins who, on prime time, Thursday night, struggled to beat the Redacteds 19-9.
That game sucked.
Exactly. I am putting this out there, making sure our 2 or 3 faithful listeners know.
Speaking of primetime games, segue ×2. Erik.
Now, you see, I'm in a different primetime game with quarterbacks that are actually, capable of doing things under the light.
Talented.
Exactly. See, Harry gets it, Bisco. And you mentioned about your guy who's saving their defense and saving their offense and saving their special teams. I legit think in a divisional game, especially after the very good but tougher than it should have been performance for the 49ers, I think knowing Russell Wilson, knowing what the stakes are, knowing that this is a big game, I think that at the very least he can keep it close against San Francisco, and I wouldn't be surprised. We saw the Patriots streak end. Would it shock me if Seattle finally hangs an L on the Niners? Not at all.
Okay. I don't think San Francisco is going to win that division, and I think that starts here. I'm 100% with Erik on this one, actually. It wasn't my pick for the week, but I'm 100% with Erik on this one. I think Seattle beat San Francisco on Monday night. Speaking of the team that Seattle just defeated this past week, thanks to said quarterback named Russell Wilson, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go back to Raymond James, where they play a team on a 2-game losing streak, but a team on a 2-game losing streak that has probably been a lot better than most people are expecting them to be this year. I am referring to the Cliff Kingsbury-led Arizona Cardinals. And their, it has to be one of the Rookie of the Year frontrunners, quarterback Kyler Murray.
Last time I checked, a few sports books had him like top 3, top 4.
He's not my pick, but he's definitely up there. And I think he goes even more up there when the +4 Arizona Cardinals beat Tampa Bay at Raymond James.
Oh, I can imagine the kind of words Bruce Arians would use if that happens.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this also a revenge game for Arizona because Arians was their coach before he went to Tampa?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. That wraps up our Are You Serious predictions for the week. Remember, updated standings on next week's episode of the show, and I'll get you guys the weekly standings from this past week once we go off the air and I get a chance to actually do so. But for now, our focus shifts to the midseason awards here for the kickoff. As you know, Week 10 marks the halfway point of the NFL season after Week 9. 17 weeks in the regular season. In order to get past the halfway mark, we do it after Week 9, which officially puts us at 52.9% of the way through the season. I believe the Sunday night game was actually the official halfway marker of the season.
128 games played, 128 games remain.
Therefore, it seems apt to do this right now. Therefore, we start with the college ranks due to the fact that the NFL ranks are going to have more categories and thus create more discussion and probably take up a little bit more time. Erik, if you had a ballot, who is your Heisman Trophy winner?
The man who they nicknamed John at Ohio State, and who Urban Meyer said he should have been at Division III Mount Union, Joe Burrow out of LSU. I mean, with what he's done to that team, and granted, they've had some offensive talent in recent years, but they've always kind of struggled at quarterback, and it's always been to the point where it's stymied them getting over the hump, beating the likes of Alabama and those in the SEC West. Burrow has come in, made Ed Orgeron look good, made LSU look even better, and has really helped not so much turn the division on its head, but really strengthen. And even if it's a tough one against Alabama and it's a close loss, if he does well, it would at least garner him consideration and help keep LSU's playoff hopes still alive. Burrow, he the man in my eyes.
I'm going to actually go ahead and go second here. I wasn't planning on doing so, but I'm going to go ahead and go second here because my pick has already been taken.
As has mine.
My current vote for the Heisman Trophy right now is Joe Burrow, quarterback, Louisiana State University. And it physically pains me to say that because one of the two losses hung on the Gators this year was by Burrow and his LSU Tiger team. Brandon, you said you were going to take Burrow as well?
Yeah, I'm taking Burrow as well as of right now, but I will take it with a caveat that the game, I believe it's this weekend, correct? Against Alabama?
This Saturday, 3:30 ESPN. Yes.
All of that can go away in a snap if he does not have a good game against the Crimson Tide this weekend.
Jason, who's your Heisman Trophy leader?
Yeah. I'm actually going to just go out on a limb and be different. And I want to take Chase Young.
I just don't see them giving it to a defensive player.
Not to mention too many split votes on that Ohio State team with Justin Fields.
Well, just hear me out.
And J.K. Dobbins.
Well, there's a reason that his stock. See, me and Erik, we share some. We have betting in our blood.
Mm-hmm.
When you see a line jump from a plus 2,500 to a plus 850 on a bye week, you take notice.
I'm not going to sit here and say that Chase Young hasn't been a game changer because he has been. And specifically against Wisconsin, the Ohio State defense completely blew up the Badgers. That being said, Erik, you're going to be the historian here. Correct me if I'm wrong. The last primarily defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy, Charles Woodson from Michigan, correct?
Yes, you are, because it's mainly been a litany of either quarterbacks or running backs since then.
I was thinking that somebody won it since Woodson.
There was a top three, but no defensive player has won it since Charles Woodson back in the mid-'90s.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm not saying that there still isn't good value in that plus 850, but if you compare that with some of the other odds that are really, no worse than plus 400, you still see where the sharps are leaning on that one.
I think Erik raises a very valid point as far as the split votes for Ohio State there, because you have three different potential Heisman Trophy candidates to not necessarily win the trophy, but to at the very least end up in New York for Heisman weekend with Chase Young, J.K. Dobbins, and Justin Fields. Let's move over to Coach of the Year so far in college football. And since we're spending this much time talking about Ohio State, again, an award that physically pains me to hand out, I have to give it to Ryan Day of Ohio State. Taking over for Urban Meyer, having all this pressure on him, and the Buckeyes have not missed a beat this year. There has been no team to come within 20 of them all season. This is an Ohio State team that looks really really good and has me really, really nervous for November 23rd.
God, their train just keeps rolling and rolling. I don't understand it.
Jason, you're up.
I'm going to flip the script. You guys went Ohio State with the Heisman. I'm going to LSU with my head coach. I think that he has instilled something in LSU hasn't seen in a long time, and that's a high-scoring offense. LSU, a lot of people said once LSU learns how to score points on the board, they could be dangerous, and I think this is the year. So yeah, I'm going to LSU for my head coach of the year.
Yeah, I'm right there with Jason with Ed Orgeron.
It's
And
much as
I will say one thing, just like I said with Joe Burrow, that big caveat of this weekend. You know, if they don't do well against Alabama, all of this goes down the drains.
I mean, as much as I want to give PJ Fleck love, we're talking Minnesota 8-0 for the first time since 1941. I've got to go with Ed Orgeron myself because for everything that happened at Ole Miss, everything at USC, coming to LSU, really not officially yet, but helping get that team over the hump, completely impressive.
I'm not going to say that Coach O doesn't deserve it, because Coach O does. And again, though, I'm with Brandon on this vote vote for Orgeron. Orgeron is going to have to prove that LSU can beat Alabama, because over the course of the last, decade and a half, that SEC West has belonged to the state of Alabama, be it Alabama themselves or Auburn. Orgeron proved he could beat Auburn this year in a game that was super close, but the Tigers held on 23-20. They have to get the job done against the Crimson Tide in order to make believers out of the rest of the country.
Well, I mean, it's the simple fact. You've got to do something that very few people have, especially since he came back to the college ranks. You got to beat Nick Saban. You do that, you were a genius.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that game not in Death Valley this Saturday?
I thought it was in Tuscaloosa.
Yep, it's in Tuscaloosa.
Well, that makes Coach O's job even more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Erik, you threw out an honorable mention to PJ Fleck of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw out an honorable mention to Matt Rule, head coach of Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
I could understand that, Baylor, but also,
if Baylor runs the table in the Big 12, I think they get in.
I don't know.
I don't see how they couldn't, because if they do, they have to beat either Oklahoma or Texas.
Yeah, and they would eventually.
They would probably have to beat Oklahoma twice.
Now, the issue, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I think if there are 4 other teams whose name value is higher that they can even consider putting in there, then they don't. Because it's all about that green.
Not to mention the Oklahoma shine little bit less after that K-State loss.
But if that's K-State's only loss when they play Baylor, then I think that benefits the Bears, and especially if they can hang a pair of defeats on the Sooners this year.
Well, that's where my dark horse was going to be. I'm going to say that a dark horse could be Klieman. I mean, yeah, I think he could be a dark horse consideration.
I don't disagree with that.
Me neither.
I mean,
I don't think there's anyone who saw Kansas State being 6-2 at this point of Kleeman's first season.
Exactly, because a lot of people wasn't thinking that he could turn that program around for at least 2 to 3 years. But I mean, coming in first year and being able to do what he does, I mean, he has to be a strong consideration.
Let's also give credit to the athletic director down there, Bill Snyder, for not leaving the cupboard bare for Kleeman as well.
True. So, all right.
Let's move on. Let's go to our most positively surprising story in college football this year. I feel like this is going to be one of two teams for the vast majority of us. Erik, I'll let you go first.
My surprise, even though I was kind of heartbroken at the latest result, SMU. I mean, they've always had a place in my heart, even going back with the stories of the death penalty in their 87 season.
That
and
30
no,
for 30 is great, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I loved that, but I got to call them out. No, they did not have the 87 and 88 seasons canceled, ESPN. You should know better. They took 88 and used it as a practice year to get ready for 89.
Mm-hmm.
But that's beside the point. What Sonny Dykes is doing had that team undefeated until Memphis. The fact that they're on pace to have still their winningest season since the death penalty, I mean, hey, kudos to the Mustangs. The Pony Express is back.
Jason?
I'm going to pile on and say that I'm staying in the SEC and going with LSU. I mean, I know none of us, we thought it was going to be a Bama, Georgia, SEC thing. And, I mean, LSU has played lights out. They discovered that offensive power that they've been lacking. I mean, I honestly think that LSU came out of nowhere, and I mean they definitely surprised me. So I'm going personal opinion here and saying LSU is my biggest surprise thus far.
Brandon?
Yeah, I'm pulling the trifecta. I'm right there with Jason. It's gotta be LSU. None of us had them anywhere in the conversation of potentially being in the playoffs, and here we are. I mean, again, like I said with the first two, with both Heisman and Coach of the Year, all of this could change in a flash this weekend. But as of right now, you gotta look at LSU and see just how big of a rise that they've had this season.
With an honorable mention to Minnesota, because I feel like Cinderella's clock is about to strike midnight this weekend for them. I'm actually going to go to another team that we just discussed, Kansas State. I don't think that anybody saw this kind of turnaround happening this quickly under Chris Kleeman. North Dakota State fans aside, maybe because they knew what Kleeman was capable of. 4 national championships in 5 years kind of speaks for itself. That being said, most people weren't sure if his style of coaching would translate to FBS from FCS. Clearly, it does. May I go first on the biggest disappointment?
Go for it.
The floor is yours.
You're embarrassing the entire state of Florida. We talked a couple of weeks ago on the show, would Willie Taggart make it to the end of the season? The answer is no. Miami of Florida beats Florida State 27-10 this past Saturday. And on Sunday, it comes out that Willie Taggart has been fired by Florida State as their head coach. And their offensive coordinator has been named their interim head coach. Miami is starting to turn it around. They're back above 500. UCF, despite the 2 losses, is sitting at 7-2. Florida's sitting at 7-2. Florida Atlantic is back over 500 at 6-3. Florida State, you're an embarrassment to the state of Florida.
What about Florida International?
They don't. Actually, I think they might be above 500 now at 5-4.
There you go. You're welcome, Knowles fans. You're welcome.
As a Florida fan, part of me enjoys seeing you guys suck as badly as you have these last couple of years. As a college football fan who wants the best out of my team's schedule, It means more to the Gators when we beat a good Florida State team than when we beat a lousy one.
Well, it's the same thing as a Hurricanes fan. How do you think I feel? But at the same time, knowing that it was the dominant performance we had, 9 sacks, forcing Hornibrook out of the game and bringing back James Blackman. Sorry, I even said the one thing that would help at least salvage it for the rest of the season was beating Miami. Taggart couldn't do that. Taggart's rightfully shown the door.
Can I go next, because mine is kind of on the same level?
You can, but give me 1 second to toss one more thing out there
Okay.
here, because I want to get Erik's thoughts on this, if he's heard this rumor or not. Did you hear the rumor as to who the next Florida State coach would be?
I've heard a couple of rumors.
The biggest name that I've heard, and this is a scary name to consider, is Bob Stoops.
I heard his name. I even heard, maybe FSU would get in the Urban Meyer sweepstakes. But personally, I don't think that they currently have a gravitas to land either one. Not to mention what everybody's ignoring about Bob Stoops. The XFL has it set up. The team's coaches are also the team's general managers. He's got a lot of control right now. He's not going to be apt to give that up anytime soon. He's going to ride this out.
See, I don't disagree with that, but I think that the money would be significantly better at Florida State than it would be in the XFL.
Mm-hmm.
True, but money is one thing, power is another.
That's a fair assessment.
And longevity goes a long way too. So I mean, the XFL there's no guarantees. Florida State isn't going nowhere.
So what you're saying is, if the XFL folds, what's to say he's not going to come after the Florida State job then?
I'm saying that he might look at it as job security versus how many alternate leagues have already folded?
A bunch.
The only difference is there's been a lot more security with the XFL in terms of money. 3 years minimum. The AAF didn't, and all of these other alternative leagues didn't. So there was a lot of time to make sure that this was right above anything else. And second of all, as we've seen, that job security isn't 100% guaranteed either.
Well,
all right, Brandon, you're up.
Okay, so originally I was going to go with Georgia, but then looking at it, I was like, they still have the opportunity to, have a good season in spite of the loss and more than likely not making the playoffs. Piggybacking off of Harry, I'm going to take the entire ACC because the rest of the conference minus Clemson is so bad that they may stop Clemson from making the playoffs.
The only good win that Clemson potentially has left in the ACC this year is
Virginia
Tech.
Wake Forest, you're correct.
At 7-1 right now.
Yes.
NC State just got rolled by Wake Forest. Boston College just beat up Syracuse. But Syracuse is a team that got blown out by Clemson earlier in the year, so that's really no surprise that Boston College took care of them as well. And South Carolina is subpar at best, outside of the stand between the hedges against Georgia. There's not a lot of good looking left on the Clemson schedule right now, let's be honest.
No, they've got to win out. And if they win out and are left out, then expansion?
Yeah, I was just about to say, if they win out and they get left out, how quickly do expansion talks start at that moment?
Jim Harbaugh came up with the formula already. It would happen as early as next year.
With all due respect, this is a conversation for next week, or we can get into more detail about it because we have other things to focus on tonight.
Yep.
Fair.
Jason, most disappointing team in college football?
I'm going to say the Tennessee Volunteers. I mean, they're abysmal.
They're disappointing every year. They always get they get overhyped every year and then proceed to do jack.
I didn't say I wouldn't be picking low hanging fruit. I'm just saying that typically I'm not prepared normally, so I'm just trying to get through this before I fall asleep. So I'm taking low hanging fruit and taking Tennessee.
And of course, he picks the school that hasn't won a national championship since T. Martin. Remember him?
We like to forget about him around these parts. All right, Erik, you're up. Last one for college football. Who's your most disappointing team thus far?
Because I had higher expectations and it's another coach that I like, even though things have turned around, UCLA. I get that things are finally starting to get a little uptick, but I would have thought it would have happened a lot faster than this. Yes, I know they've got a lot of freshmen. Yes, I know they've been dealing with injuries, but still, Chip Kelly, this was your conference and your old stomping grounds. You could have gotten a little bit quicker on the draw with this.
Oh, let me just say one more thing about my pick. ACC, I'm sure you're glad that it's basketball season now.
I'm pissed with the ACC network not being available up here.
Damn Xfinity.
Neither here nor there.
Well, at AT&T, I can take. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was at work again.
I had AT&T for a while because AT&T were the dominant companies. Then you switched over to Xfinity, and then look what happened.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the NFL here. Look, a couple of these are going to be real simple explanations. I don't feel like there's going to be any need to really get into them here. I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of disagreement on this one, so I'm going to start with it. Comeback player of the year, it has to be Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Erik?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going Garoppolo.
Yep.
I mean, that just with San Francisco having the season that San Francisco's having and Garoppolo at the helm of that season there's no doubt in my mind. The only thing that could possibly sway the votes away from Garoppolo is if A.J. Green just goes the fuck off for Cincinnati in the second half.
Which, I mean, Ryan Finley's a quarterback, so...
Unlikely.
I mean, think about it. You go from, dinner with the porn star to tear your ACL to undefeated season and flirting with Aaron Andrews. It's like, yeah. I call that a comeback, if anything.
Mm-hmm. Coach of the year. I feel like this one's going to be a little bit more diversified. I made the obvious selection for for comeback player. I think the obvious selection for coach of the year is on the same team, Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yep, that was my pick as well.
I know one person on this panel that doesn't agree, and that's Jason.
That is right. I'm going to stay. I'm going to take the probably the most unpopular opinion, and after losing their first game of the season, I think you'll see why he becomes coach of the year yet again. And I'm going to the evil empire and taking Belichick.
Oh, God.
Boo.
I'm not even going to dignify that with a boo.
Course of habit response to that name. Sorry, continue.
I mean, I have a dark horse, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little later. I want to see if anybody picks my dark horse.
I have a dark horse as well, but it would have sounded like I was a homer if I would have said them. So, because my dark horse for coach of the year right now is Sean McDermott of Buffalo.
Well, I mean, you have been circling the wagon, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I've been circling the wagon so long, y'all got dizzy. Got vertigo.
That explains that Philadelphia game. All right, Erik, you're the only one who hasn't chimed in yet. Who you got?
I'm staying in the same division as San Francisco, and as much as I piled on saying that this was going to be an abject failure and a bunch of crap, Cliff Kingsbury has in a lot of ways proved me wrong. I mean, yes, there are still tweaks to be made, but I would have to argue that for doing what he's done with basically no experience and what experience he has being, well, abject crap, he's shown a little bit of a light in my eyes. And it's like, there could be something here. Not now, but there could be.
All I'm going to say is somebody said the West was a hell of a lot more competitive.
Okay. Who's your dark horse pick, Teasley?
I was going to actually say Harbaugh in Baltimore. I mean,
Yeah,
That's a fair.
that is a fair one.
Everybody knew that the Ravens were going to be good this year, but I don't think anybody expected them to be as good. And the way that Baltimore came out and handled New England, you got to he's going to get some extra points from me for that because he had the right strategy going into that game. He held Brady in check. I mean, and that team exploited that quote unquote people saying that the Pats had a top 10 all-time defense, and he went in, did work with his team, and pretty much embarrassed the Pats in primetime.
Yeah, you know the last quarterback that ran this style of an offense this well in the NFL?
Randall Cunningham.
No.
Vic.
No, neither. Believe it or not, the last quarterback to lead an offense who was averaging 200 yards rushing per game.
I know this, and I'm just not going to, if it's who I'm thinking, I'm just not going to say his name because I have no respect for the man.
No, he was the first man to ever wear a flak jacket in the NFL. Dan Pastorini of the 1977 Chicago Bears.
I know who you were thinking there for a second, Jason.
Because it's the last person that ran out of the pistol offense.
Well,
and had success with the pistol.
Well, this isn't even really the pistol. This is a little bit different. But yes, the last time an NFL offense was averaging 200 yards rushing per game in the season were those 77 Bears. That's what the Ravens are doing now. Credit to Harbaugh for being able to adapt and getting an offense that caters very well to Lamar Jackson's strengths.
I worry for the one play that Jackson takes the hit that he can't recover from.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this has RG3 written all over it.
It's the same situation in Buffalo for me as well with Josh Allen. I worry that one time, much like what happened in the New England game with that illegal hit from their cornerback.
That's the problem with these types of offenses, is that they burn hot, but then burn out very quickly.
That I completely agree. That's why I say there's going to have to be some more necessary tweaks to the second half of this season and going into next season.
Okay.
All right.
Next.
Let's move on to Rookie of the Year. I kind of teased this earlier when I said that Kyler Murray is in consideration for this. I would not give it to him yet, though. In my opinion, the current Rookie of the Year is Josh Jacobs, running back from Oakland.
Agreed.
I'm right there with you.
I actually went with a different pick. I went on the defensive end, and I went with Nick Bosa.
Only because Harry said it in the chat. You're as prepared for this as I am.
He's going to be my pick anyways.
I actually gave Bosa consideration for MVP, but they never give that to a defensive player. They almost never give Rookie of the Year to a defensive player either.
Well, don't they have two separate ones?
Yeah.
I think the NFLPA does one for their year-end awards, but the Associated Press is just one specific player.
Oh, okay.
I think. I'm not certain on that, though.
Yeah, you have offensive and defensive And then you have the AP Rookie of the Year.
I mean,
right.
with how well he's been doing, I could potentially see him breaking that trend.
I don't disagree. I mean, Bosa's led that San Francisco defense for sure, but to me, they almost always focus on an offensive player. And if you'd have told me that the Oakland Raiders would be 4-4 at the halfway mark, I'd have thought you were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So Josh Jacobs is a huge part of that. Maybe even more of a part of that than Derek Carr is.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Let's go with our midseason coach of the year.
Oh, we did that.
We already did coach.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I think we're up to MVP then.
Well, unless you want to do surprise and
MVP.
disappointment of the year first.
Surprise and disappointment or the last one. I
Yeah.
apologize.
Hey, Harry Bisco.
I got a little bit inside of my own head there for a second. I'm trying to update the Are You Serious scores while we're doing the show, and I probably shouldn't be doing that. But anyway, yeah, let's move over to MVP then. All right, so I know a couple of people are going to fall in the same category on this one. I know Erik is one of them because he kind of teased it earlier in the show. Erik, is your MVP who you kind of teased earlier?
I did. As much as I want to give it to Run CMC, I desperately do. You take Run CMC away from the Panthers, he had a little bit of a problem. A bigger problem since Cam Newton's been hurt. You take away Russell Wilson from the Seahawks, you've got an abject dumpster fire.
As we saw this past week.
Yeah, I'm sorry for everything that he's done. Not to mention coming off of a season where he accounted for all but one touchdown and has elevated his game, and coming off of a 5-touchdown game just last week. I'm sorry, Russell Wilson, he has responded extremely well to his fat contract, and he's showing, yeah, y'all paid me, this is what you're getting. He's my MVP vote.
Yeah, I'm right there with Erik.
I'm actually with Jason.
Hey.
Jason, why don't you go ahead and give your pick?
My pick is the Great White Hype, who is my stud this week, and that's Run CMC. I think that offense lives and dies as McCaffrey runs. I think that he's putting up the numbers and making Carolina at least competitive in games. Without him, I think that team is the epitome of the NFC version of the Dolphins.
See,
I'm going to take this a step further real quick here, Jason. So not only that point there, Run CMC is keeping the Panthers relevant even after Cam Newton's career with Carolina ended.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that Cam Newton was the end-all, be-all in Carolina. Kyle Allen took over for Cam Newton in Week 3 of the season. And as we sit right now, going into Week 10, despite the fact that Newton's only played 2 games for the Panthers this year, both of which were losses, by the way, Kyle Allen is 5-1 as a starting quarterback. At one point, Run CMC had more yards than 2 teams collectively had, all-purpose yards. And if the playoffs were to start today, Carolina is only a half a game out of the second wild card spot, with Kyle Allen as their quarterback and no real discernible top shelf wide receiver on that team.
The only downside, and I really wish that this could still happen, but that injury derailed that, this was a potential 1,000 season for him.
I think the one thing I will say about why I chose Wilson over CMC is that, at least in my opinion, I know different voters analyze it in different ways, but yes, they're technically in contention right now, but I don't think the Panthers are going to make the playoffs. Whereas the Seahawks, they have a very realistic chance of making the playoffs this season.
One of 3 NFC West teams that will make the playoffs. Moving on.
I still don't know about that.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that as of right now, the NFC West is getting 2
Mm-hmm.
because it's San Francisco at 8-0
And
and
Seattle.
Seattle at 7-2. Then it's Minnesota at 6-3.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams are 6. The Rams are 5-3. They've had their bye week already, so theoretically they could catch back up to the Vikings. But I believe the Vikings actually have a conference tiebreaker over the Rams right now. Better in conference record, I believe. I'd have to look that up, though. Regardless, let's move on. Let's go over to our surprises and our disappointments here. Jason, your biggest surprise for the season, just because I know where this is going, and it makes me happy.
My biggest surprise is actually the Buffalo Bills.
Yay, go up.
Yeah, Harry's a homer for the Bills and everything, but I don't think that anybody was giving the Bills the credit that they was deserving. That defense has stepped up and been game changers at points. And I mean, Josh Allen is playing out of his head. He doesn't really have a wide receiver one. They're finally giving Singletary, the chance to start showing his abilities here in the last 2 or 3 games. They're opening up his playbook for him a little bit, and this team is only going to get more dangerous as the season goes on. And once they get that ground attack rolling, and you can actually get a viable wide receiver one in Buffalo, they're really going to threaten New England's stranglehold on that division.
I will pose this question to you that I've posed to one of my other friends that's actually a fan of the team that almost happened. If the rumored trade would have happened and Buffalo would have been able to acquire A.J. Green from Cincinnati, because from what I've heard, it came close. Would that have made the Bills a threat to New England this year in the East?
I don't think this year, because I think A.J. would have had a lot of rust to work off due to his injury and the nature of his injury. But if the rumors are true, my biggest disappointment, teams are definitely sniffing around with him. And if he lands in Buffalo, oh my God, that team is going to be nasty scary.
One of my thoughts, too, is what happens if Antonio Brown hadn't gone crazy and decided to accept the trade to Buffalo, too?
That team would have been scary good.
Mm-hmm.
Bills fans, send your hate mail and whatever to one Vontez Perfect. I'm just saying.
I hope his suspension becomes career-long. Fuck that guy. Anyways, let's move on here. Brandon, biggest surprise of the season thus far?
My biggest surprise of the season, yes, the Bills have been a very big surprise, but I don't think any of us, I think some of us potentially put them in the playoffs, but I don't think any of us saw the 49ers being undefeated at this point in the season. They have to be my biggest surprise of the year, especially with how Garoppolo is coming off of the injury and everything.
Erik.
As much as I would like with San Francisco, I saw Garoppolo, knew what he was. Harry, I'm going to do you another favor. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon in Buffalo, because for all the years that I've said, oh, Buffalo could potentially be a force, and then nothing happens. Now when I'm saying Buffalo could potentially be a force, and they are, now granted, as the current playoffs stand, I will be there, but at the very least, getting there, yeah, they could be the potential heir apparent to the AFC East.
I definitely think that Sean McDermott's going to get Coach of the Year votes. Do I think he's going to get enough votes with an undefeated San Francisco team still out there? And especially if San Francisco ends up going 12-4, 13-3, no, McDermott's not going to beat out Kyle Shanahan. But I definitely think you could be looking at a top 3 for Coach of the Year finish for Sean McDermott here, and bringing back some of the fire that McDermott had when he was the Carolina coach.
Easily.
Mhm.
Easily.
That being said, we talked about the coach of my team for biggest surprise earlier in the show. When we did our preseason predictions for the NFL, I had Pittsburgh winning the North and Cleveland as a wild card. I had Baltimore finishing third. I was wrong. Okay, I'm hearing like somebody's TV in the background. Not sure.
That's Jason.
But the TV's been on the entire time, and I don't know. See how?
I'm hearing it louder now. Though. Just a heads up, giving you a heads up that I can hear it in the background. Regardless, back to what I was saying. My pick for biggest surprise of the year thus far is Baltimore, just because if you'd have told me at the midway point that they would have a 2-game lead in the North right now, I'd have thought you were crazy. Then again, I wouldn't have expected Big Ben to have been hurt and out of commission the way that he is. I wouldn't have expected Cleveland to turn into what they've become. And I definitely wouldn't have expected Cincinnati to be as god-awful as they are this year.
Check on Cincinnati. Check on Cleveland. I had Baltimore second in that division to Pittsburgh. And, well, again, the Big Ben injury derailed things. And by the way, Jason, fuck you for making me want calamari at 2 in the morning.
I'm sorry.
All I'm saying,
I'm going to say I picked Baltimore second in that division, and I picked Pittsburgh third. Yeah.
who did you pick to win that division?
Yeah.
Hey, it's possible. It's still possible.
I had the best out of all of us, I think, because, yes, I had Pittsburgh winning it, but I had Baltimore at second.
I had Baltimore second, but I had Cleveland winning the division.
Yeah, I had Baltimore second, too.
Speaking of that, can that segue into my biggest disappointment?
I don't think you're the only person to pick them, Brandon, but sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so,
biggest disappointment.
Browns are gonna Browns. That's all I gotta say. I mean, it's not that surprising or disappointing for me, but yeah, they're definitely gonna be biggest disappointment of the year.
Actually, I'm gonna be more specific. My biggest disappointment is 2 players from the Browns who have combined for a total of 1 touchdown. That's Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. That's a disappointment.
Aren't you so glad that we got rid of that cancer, Jason?
I didn't like it at first,
but now you're thankful.
I'm looking back, and when he made the comment that he made, that he left a horrible quarterback to come to the Browns to only be saddled with a even worse a quarterback that has gave him his worst numbers ever, meaning that he's throwing everybody under the bus possible. And guess what, Harry? There's rumors that the Browns are looking to trade him in the offseason, and Buffalo is at the top of the list.
Super. That's exactly what I want. That cancer in my locker room. Yahoo.
Baker, interception maker.
No. Cleveland fans take solace in the fact that at least your quarterback is not and has never been the Intercepticon at any point.
But he does look like a homeless guy who snuck into a press conference.
Oh, 100%.
Or the guy that really shouldn't be within 500 feet of a school. That one was my favorite.
In fairness, doesn't Minshew kind of have the mustache for that?
Hey.
Tell me I'm wrong. Go ahead. Tell me I'm wrong.
You actually are wrong in this case. Now, had you said Minshew working out in the nude, yeah, definitely. Minshew was making an appearance on the second, pretty much any season, but ideally the first and second seasons of the Deuce, completely okay. But no. Mm-mm.
Speaking of dropping a deuce, Erik, most disappointing team for you this season. Segway!
Oh, God. Yeah.
I was proud of that one.
Very, very well done. Well done. Yeah, Adam Gase. I get you don't do press conferences like at all, but I at least thought that you would be halfway decent with the Jets. You and the Jets are by far my biggest disappointment because, in a twisted way, I had hope. Even with the whole Sam Darnold and shenanigan-induced mono early in the season, I thought you, who were making a chicken salad out of the chicken shit that was Ryan Tannehill, I thought that with the more competent and actual lifelong quarterback, you would have been able to do something better. And then, fail, 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 fail.
This should teach you guys something. To listen to me when I tell you that a certain organization is just going to do exactly what they're known to do. Browns are going to Browns, and Jets are going to Jets.
All right, I'm going to give my biggest disappointment real quick, and then we're going to have Jason update his college playoff predictions and his NFL playoff predictions because Jason has to be at work in like 6 hours. All right, real quick. So there was a team in the Midwest that a lot of people were thinking was going to be really, 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 really good. I had them as a wild card team. They won the division last year. And, well, they're in the basement of the NFC North right now. My pick for the biggest disappointment this year? The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
But to be fair, I warned you about Trubisky. I called this.
You mean false Bisky?
Exactly, or Trubusky, if you will. And by the way, Chicago fans, I get that you're second in the infamy and notoriousness to Philadelphia, but do you really have to boo little kids? He doesn't know better. Don't crush his spirit just because he was dressed up as old Mitch for Halloween. That just wasn't right.
When in Chicago, do a Chicago. I mean, they're basically the new Philadelphia.
And Christmas is coming soon, so hey Santa,
watch out.
I'd avoid Soldier Field if I were just a friendly heads up.
I wouldn't be going anywhere near there. Up until the last 2 weeks, my answer to this question would have been the Philadelphia Eagles. But all of a sudden, Philadelphia has their shit together again.
For now.
God, that team is Jekyll and Hyde. All right, Jason, let's get this done quick so you can go get some sleep. You ready?
I'm somewhat ready.
Who are your college football playoff for?
LSU, Penn State.
Ooh, me likes.
Georgia. And I'm going to go Oklahoma gets in. I'm sticking with Alabama still outside the top 4.
I think if Alabama loses and doesn't make the SEC championship game, they're out because their out-of-conference schedule was bullshit.
I said this at the beginning of the season that Alabama would miss out. You 3 laughed at me. Now it's starting to shape up to be a good possibility.
We'll see what happens, but you're not wrong here. Who's your national champion?
I'm actually going to go with LSU. I mean, that team, like we've been reiterating all through this show, this weekend is pretty much your national championship. LSU wins it. They're pretty much solid for the national championship because they've overcome the biggest obstacle on their schedule. If they lose, then there's no hope of them getting in.
All right, let's move over to the NFL now. AFC East.
Who do I have winning the AFC East now?
Yes.
Oh God! I mean, I still have to go with New England, but I
North.
think
We're
North.
gonna run down. We're gonna run down.
I'm going to go with
division by
Baltimore.
division. Sorry,
I'm
I
going
was
to go
just gonna say
Baltimore.
we're gonna run division by division and then the wild cards at the end here. So, all right, New England, Baltimore, South,
South. I'm going to go Houston.
and West.
West. God damn it! I hate to fucking say it. Oh God.
Brandon, shut the
I
fuck up.
I want to say fuck Robert Taylor.
That works. Who are your wild cards in the AFC?
I still think, God, I think it's Buffalo, and the last one's probably the toughest. I'm still going to say it's going to be. I want to say it's going to be Cleveland. I think they'll get their shit together. They got 2 games against Pittsburgh and 1 more against Baltimore. So I think that they can do something.
The good news for Cleveland is that 3 of their 6 losses of the 2 wins that they have so far, and 3 of their 6 losses are in the AFC, which means that there are still tiebreaker potentials for Cleveland against other fellow wildcard teams coming down the road. I'll make more predictions for that later on in the show from my own side of that. But let's get you over to the NFC now. East.
I'm still going to say I want to stay with Philadelphia.
North.
I'm going with the Packers.
South.
I'm going Saints.
West.
I'm going to say San Fran.
Who are your wild cards in the NFC?
The Rams and the Seahawks. I'm staying with 3 teams out of the West.
Who's your Super Bowl matchup? Who wins the title?
I'm going New England and screw that. I'm going to go off keel here. I'm going to say Baltimore versus the Saints, with the Ravens winning.
Interesting pick there. All right, where can people find you on Twitter, Jason?
You can find me at TurkeyGlue822. I'm becoming more active on my Twitter account because I kind of get bored during my breaks and lunch, so I actually start replying to people. So, if we had a fantasy football show here on W2M, I would gladly tell you to go over there. But till I get a co-host, Bisco, you can just send me all your fantasy football questions on my Twitter, and I'll answer them in a timely fashion.
All right, go get some sleep, man. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, later.
All right, let's get over to our predictions for the college football playoff now. Here, we'll do our 4 and our national champion. We'll start with Erik.
My 4? I am going to go a little bit of an upset, mostly because I'm really not a fan of Nick Saban. LSU. Sorry, Harry, but Ohio State. Clemson. And you know what? This is probably going to sound weird, especially with everything I've talked about earlier in the show. Oregon. I think they find their way in.
Well, I think whoever comes out of the Pac-12 is getting smoked by whoever wins the SEC anyway, but...
Completely agreed. And my national champion, again, sorry, Harry, Ohio State.
Brandon.
Just to be that guy, and just because in a very messed up way I want it to happen, just so that it blows the whole system, just blows it all up.
I don't know why I asked him for college.
Just blows it all up. I'm going to go Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, Georgia.
Okay, there is absolutely no chance of that happening.
No.
You say that now.
No, you had me up until Georgia. I
No,
could
here's
see.
the thing.
Because, no, there's a way it could happen. Listen
No,
to
there's
me.
not, because Georgia and Alabama or Georgia and LSU will take care of each other in the SEC championship game.
LSU beats Alabama. But Alabama still only has that one loss. They run the table regardless. Georgia beat LSU in the SEC championship game.
LSU was out.
No.
Yes.
Because they're still going to be thinking of that win against Alabama.
No, but no. If LSU beats Alabama, fine. But then you would have the latest loss, and yeah, you could get two of them.
Under that line of thinking, then LSU would get in and Alabama wouldn't. You wouldn't get all
But
three.
they would still want to put Alabama in there. Let's be realistic here.
No, I'm being realistic with you, and that's why I said you had me at Ohio State, LSU, Alabama. I could see that happening. Georgia would not get in. They still wouldn't.
Even if they beat whoever got in the SEC title game.
Mainly because of South Carolina, yes.
The loss to South Carolina would come back and bite Georgia in the ass. I think winning the SEC title would put them in, but whoever they beat in the SEC championship game doesn't get in.
We'll have to wait and see.
Who's your national champion, Bisco?
I'm going to go with Ohio State.
All right, so you guys ready for my 4?
Yep.
Ready.
I don't want to say it.
You have to.
Alabama wins the SEC.
Okay.
TTDS wins the Big Ten.
Okay.
For those who don't know what that means, that would be Ohio State. Michigan fans refer to Ohio State as TTDS, that team down south. Much the same way Michigan is TTUN, that team up north. I want Penn State to win the Big Ten, but the game is in Columbus. It's probably not going to happen.
Mm-mm.
If that game were in Happy Valley, I'd feel better about my chances. Because we saw what the whiteout did to Michigan. It caused Michigan to get tentative towards the end of the game, and Penn State held on. Regardless, Clemson wins the ACC, goes undefeated, gets in. Eric, you son of a bitch, you took my pick. 12-1 Oregon.
I was hesitant, but I was like, they couldn't leave 2 conference champs out. So, given how everything could shake down, Oregon would have redeemed themselves.
So you both think. So we all think that even an undefeated Clemson, who is the defending national champions, gets left out.
No, I put Clemson in.
Oh, okay.
So did I.
Oh,
Clean
you
out
did.
your ears,
Okay.
Bisco. Here's my prediction, though. Clemson suffers a loss at any point in these next 4 games, they're done. Either of the Pac-12 schools lose, both of the Pac-12 schools are screwed. The Big 12 champion gets in, or a second SEC team gets in.
And I would honestly lean more towards a second SEC team in that case.
That being said, my national champions, they always seem to find the right time to play. I'm picking Clemson.
Tough, but doable. But I don't know.
I can't justify picking Ohio State to win a national championship because I wouldn't be able to live in this state if that happened. Ohio State fans are some of the most insufferable pricks I have ever met in my life.
Oh, I know. I've been dealing with them since the Fiesta Bowl and the flag that really wasn't.
All right, let's move over to the NFL now. We're going to do this the same way I did Jason's. AFC champions, wild cards. NFC champions, wild card. Super Bowl championship prediction. We're not going to go through the full playoffs just because we're running up on time here, and I don't want to go too much past 2 hours here.
Fair.
Brandon, start us off.
My division winners, New England, Baltimore, Houston, and KC. And my wild cards for the AFC are Buffalo and
It's that sixth team in that's
that
throwing
is
everyone.
that's the really tricky one, especially now after Brissett went down.
And T.Y. Hilton out for a couple of games.
Exactly.
Well,
I'm gonna go out on a limb and make I'm gonna make Erik happy. I think Jacksonville gets their shit together and actually gets in.
Oh, hello. Okay.
this is like a Jim Nance moment. Hello, friends. That commercial with Charles Barkley last year was the best part of the NCAA tournament.
Oh,
I hope they bring it back.
The Jim Nance with the hot dogs. Hello. Oh, I was dying. All right. NFC, Brandon.
For the NFC, I'm going to go Dallas, Green Bay, New Orleans, San Francisco, and Seattle. I really don't want to have to agree with Jason, so I'm going to say Minnesota stays in just the way it is right now.
What's your Super Bowl? Who wins?
My Super Bowl is New England against San Francisco, and New England wins.
Erik, do you want to go first or do you want to go last here?
I'll go last because some of my matchups will be a little bit shocking.
I have a few surprising picks myself here. New England. Pittsburgh comes back and wins the North.
Wow.
Houston. Kansas City. Buffalo. Baltimore are my wild cards. Baltimore just barely holds off the Chargers for the last spot.
Wow.
In the NFC, Philadelphia, Green Bay, New Orleans, Seattle.
What?
Wild cards to San Francisco and Minnesota.
Okay.
Dallas does not make the playoffs.
Wow.
Okay.
My Super Bowl is the same as it was when we did our preseason picks, and the same result. Drew Brees retires as a Super Bowl champion when New Orleans beats New England.
Okay.
All right.
Top that, Erik.
Okay. For the AFC, New England, Baltimore, I still think they hang on. Kansas City, and I'm going to say even with everything going on, I'm going to go with it like I said at the beginning of the season, Indianapolis. Buffalo and Houston, wild cards. In the NFC, sticking with Philadelphia, sticking with Green Bay, sticking with New Orleans. I think San Francisco hangs on to win the West. But with my wild card, I'm still sticking with Dallas and Seattle. Minnesota doesn't make it in.
Interesting that the defending Super Bowl champions, the only one of us that had the defending champions in is Jason. Or the defending runner-ups, excuse me.
And I had them at the beginning of the season too, but I don't see it now. I think Seattle and San Francisco are too far gone.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be very hard for the NFC West to get 3 teams in, so unfortunately the Rams are going to be the odd team out.
With the other thing with the Rams too is the Rams are 3 games behind San Fran, and that's with a divisional game in hand for the Niners as well, because San Fran beats the Rams earlier in the season.
Precisely.
So it's a steep hill for the Rams to climb in order to get back into the division. Whereas if Seattle can beat San Francisco this week, I would say that the momentum of that division, despite the fact that the Niners will still have a half a game lead, would swing firmly into the corner of the Seahawks.
I don't think firmly, but it would definitely give Seattle that momentum.
San Francisco's back half schedule is a lot tougher than their front half was. Seattle's back half schedule is easier than their front half was.
And that's why I still think it's going to be close. They're going to limp towards that finish line, but they're going to hang on.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised to see a 12-4, 11-5 finish for those two.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, it could go either way. San Fran at 12-4 or Seattle at 12-4. All right. What's your Super Bowl prediction, Eric?
Remember how I said at the beginning of this season that my Super Bowl would be a rematch? Remember how you asked me to top your predictions? I'm predicting another rematch. But it's not going to be one that I don't know if anybody's going to be thinking. This is probably going to make a lot of people incredibly insufferable. I know I'm either going to look like a total genius or a complete dumbass in making this prediction. But if it comes true, I won't even care. I last predicted a rematch of last year's Super Bowl. I'm now predicting a rematch of the first
I was
Super
just
Bowl.
about to say, are you going to pick a rematch of the first Super Bowl?
Green Bay beats Kansas City again.
Oh, I don't know if I could live with Robert Taylor if he makes the Super Bowl.
Hey, at least he doesn't have them winning.
No.
That's
As
fair.
much as I would want to with something like this and with Aaron Rodgers' mindset and everything, just to give a double tall man to Mike McCarthy, it could happen.
Real quick, speaking of Robert Taylor's and Robert Foster's and stuff, quick shout out to our friends, both Robert Taylor and his MMA to the Max, as well as I think he's doing like a Dungeons and Dragons podcast video cast now too. So if you guys
Tales of Dexterity, but that's stay tuned. That's all I'm gonna say.
in addition, I know MMA to the Max was still a thing. I don't know if it still is because there's been some network issues with that recently, so undecided there. Robert Foster, our friend at Golden Point Sports, will be having yours truly as his guest next week on the show. So make sure you guys check that out as well. Eric, we got to get you on Golden Point. I think you'd be a good guest for him.
How clean would I have to work?
PG-13.
I can actually do that. I could do that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hit you with a TV7 here, but I think you could slide within a PG-13 relatively simply.
Yeah, it's been done before.
I'll talk to him about when we record next week, and if you're available, maybe we can get both of us on the show. I'll let you go head to head with him with predictions.
Wicked.
All right. So that's over at Golden Point Sports. You can find that over on Facebook by searching for Robert Foster's page or by looking for Golden Point Sports. In addition, as Eric mentioned, Tales of Dexterity is on Facebook as well. It is a video walkthrough of a Dungeons and Dragons play along, I believe. Robert's the Dungeon Master there.
Yes, and for those who are very particular about this thing, it's also on Twitch, and yes, it is 5th edition.
Are you getting involved with Tales of Dexterity, Eric? Is that the big tease?
Part of that, because he's come to me about it, and there's been talks, but there's also been separate talks that have recently developed in the last couple of weeks, so it's like, things are getting strangely nebulous.
I'm going to let that just say, dun, dun, dun.
Major dramatic reverb.
And leave it at that for now. All right. Brandon, where are you online?
Online on Twitter at Bisco_GothamSN and on Facebook in various groups, and yeah.
Erik, Twitter.
At Squid Sports Head, follow me for like random things, and also I've started delving into more about multi-sport gambling. Take some of my advice with a grain of salt, and if you're nice, you are willing to go through a screening process, I will let you in on my dark Twitter and my Telegram at that.
Telegram?
Yes.
I don't even want to know. You know what? Never mind. Forget I asked. I haven't had a chance to drop one yet today, so I feel like now would be the best time. Family show.
Wow, we went a whole episode with that. That was your first one.
I know. I'm just as shocked as you are, frankly.
Man, the first time we've hit the under. I'm impressed. And this is me.
That's for damn sure.
I think we were all just so tired and just so focused on getting through the game.
Well, we knew that this show was going to run long, and technically, we're still not going to hit the 2-hour mark with this show. So I'm happy with that. I figured for sure we'd hit the 2-hour mark.
If you dilly dally a little bit more, you might.
Shut the fuck up and let me finish, then, Bisco. How's that? Anyway, ATB the Eagle on Twitter, Harry Broadhurst over on Facebook. You can find me over there. Feel free to send me a message about anything sports, wrestling, video game related, and I'll message you back. I'm starting to delve a little bit more into playing video games. Not a ton, but a little bit more. I have my eyes set on that Crash Bandicoot racing that just came out for the Xbox One. That brings back some major childhood memories, so I might have to get that and throw down on it. In addition, I just started playing Mario Kart Mobile as well, so I'm starting to get more and more invested into trying to figure that out. I do wish they would install a steering wheel on that game, though, because the tap steering on that game is just fucking annoying. Anyway, this has been Season 3, Episode 10 of The Kickoff, a presentation of the W2M Network online at W2Mnet.com. In addition, you can listen to us on all of your favorite podcast listening services, such as iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, Podbean, CastBox. Hey, Brandon, guess what?
Spotify is here.
And Todd Furman and John Heisman are dicks.
The John Heisman reference popped me. Happy anniversary, Cumberland. Not that you'd want it to be. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you back with our normal format here on The Kickoff, a presentation of the W2M Network. Thanks for listening, everyone. Did I hear a button tap there?
No.
Okay, cool. For the departed Jason Teasley, I am an absolute hot mess over here. For the departed Jason Teasley, Brandon Biskobing, and Erik Watkins, I'm Harry Broadhurst. This has been The Kickoff, Season 3, Episode 10 on the W2M Network.